he wore the same shirt as the shooter did, and he was walking down. He had some type of like body cam device.
We just were in complete shock that this was happening over here, because this is supposed to be peaceful and it's not supposed to be any kind of craziness happening at this time.
He had a phone. I think he was recording himself because he was talking to himself, so I'm assuming he was recording himself. And he was saying a lot of hateful things towards Charlie, and that I don't want to reiterate. But so me and the officer were staring at him. We were like, I was like, this guy's going to do something.
It's just heartbreaking. We want to show our support. Even those who engage in violence, we love them and we forgive them, and we want to win them for Christ.
Less than a week after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot dead while speaking on a university stage, a 19-year-old was arrested in Phoenix after trampling a makeshift memorial outside Turning Point USA's headquarters. The video exploded online, and people noticed something chilling. The teenager's shirt looked eerily like the one seen in surveillance photos of the accused killer. Was it a coincidence or a message? Tonight we go line by line, moment by moment, through what happened, what the evidence shows, and what it might mean for a divided nation. Stay with us. First, the timeline. On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk was shot while speaking at Utah Valley University. Within about 33 hours, law enforcement had identified and detained a suspect, Tyler James Robinson, 22, who was later charged with aggravated murder and other felonies. Prosecutors in Utah signaled they intend to seek the death penalty. Those are the core facts. Days later, a large memorial formed outside Turning Point USA's national headquarters in Phoenix. Candles, handwritten signs, flowers, flags, and mourners. On an early morning, video captured a 19-year-old man walking through that memorial, trampling items and knocking over tributes. He was grabbed by bystanders and arrested at the scene on charges of criminal damage and disorderly conduct. The footage spread rapidly online and sparked intense debate. Let's slow it down and walk through the Phoenix scene. It was early Sunday morning. A makeshift shrine lined the sidewalk outside TPUSA's headquarters on 48th Street and Beverly Road. Flowers, flags, candles still smoldering, people standing quietly, grieving. Then, the footage. A young man moves directly into the center of the memorial. He does not hesitate. He walks through the flags. He stomps on bouquets. He kicks over candles and knocks down a vase. A mourner rushes forward and attempts to stop him. Another civilian tackles him to the ground and holds him there until police, who were stationed nearby for crowd and traffic control, take him away in handcuffs. The man is identified in police reports as 19-year-old Ryder Corral, though early coverage shows inconsistent spelling of his surname in some reports. He was charged with criminal damage and disorderly conduct. No serious injuries were reported. The arresting officers processed him at the scene. Video of the takedown spread on social platforms within hours. Important detail. Witnesses and the viral clip drew attention to a black t-shirt the suspect was wearing, one with a bold American flag and a large bald eagle across the chest. Multiple outlets noted the shirt resembled the one seen on surveillance footage of the Utah suspect. Whether that resemblance is meaningful is one of the central questions tonight. Who is Ryder Corral? Right now, the public record is thin. He is described in police records and news coverage as a 19-year-old who entered the memorial with a determined stride and began trampling items. There's no verified manifesto, no confirmed social media log released publicly linking him to the Utah attack, and police have explicitly said they have not established a formal link between Corral and Tyler Robinson. Still, a lot of people are asking the same question. Why wear a shirt that looks like the one linked to the Utah suspect? And why choose that moment to act? From a legal perspective, Corral faces charges that, on paper, are generally treated as misdemeanors in Arizona. Criminal damage and disorderly conduct typically carry fines, possible community service, or short jail terms, especially for first-time offenders. But prosecutors can weigh symbolic intent and public impact when deciding whether to escalate charges. Observers are asking, should an act that might be symbolic, if it is symbolic, be treated more seriously? There's an ongoing debate about symbolic crimes and political messaging. On the ground, the reaction was immediate and visceral. Mourners saw the video and called it desecration of a sacred space. Others pushed back. Some commentators said the arrest was about vandalism, not politics, that the shirt alone doesn't prove anything. That dispute is now central to the story's second act. Now, the event that started all of this. On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk was fatally shot during an appearance at Utah Valley University. Authorities say a single bullet struck Kirk in the neck while he was on stage, and he was pronounced dead within the hour. Within about 33 hours, investigators had a name: Tyler James Robinson, 22. He was located, arrested, and later charged with aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and other serious counts. Prosecutors in Utah announced they intend to seek capital punishment. Investigators say Robinson was tracked through a combination of surveillance footage, digital forensics, and messages tied to his online presence. Reporting indicates Discord messages and other digital footprints were part of the evidence that investigators used to reconstruct his actions in the hours before the shooting. Robinson surrendered with assistance from family members but has largely declined to speak publicly, according to law enforcement briefs. Forensic details released by officials include the weapon and symbolic evidence recovered near the scene: a World War II-era bolt-action rifle, reported as a .30-06 Mauser or similar classic bolt-action, was found wrapped in a towel and partially buried behind the auditorium. Bullet casings near the scene were reportedly engraved with messages tied to anti-fascist rhetoric. Those details are part of the prosecution's narrative that this was a planned, ideological act rather than a random attack. Prosecutors say their case will emphasize two pillars: ideological motive, that Robinson targeted Kirk specifically because of his politics, and premeditation, that the attack was planned and symbolic. If the state proves those aggravating factors under Utah law, it strengthens the case for enhanced sentencing, including a capital punishment request. Defense teams may counter with arguments about mental state, chain of evidence, or the authenticity of digital materials. Those are common defense strategies in cases with heavy online footprints. That's the core: one violent death, followed by an act of vandalism far from the original scene, but close enough in timing and symbolism to make observers wonder if there's a pattern. The shirt. It's a small visual detail, but visuals are powerful. In the surveillance images released by authorities of the Utah suspect, viewers have pointed to a dark shirt with a bold emblem. Video from Phoenix shows the memorial vandal wearing a black t-shirt with a large bald eagle over an American flag. News outlets and social posts noted the resemblance. Some social accounts immediately ran with the word copycat. Others warned not to jump to conclusions. Two interpretations have emerged. One, it's an eerie coincidence. Many mass-market patriotic shirts share similar imagery. Two, it's a deliberate echo, an intentional act meant to signal sympathy, imitation, or to inflame. Right now, law enforcement says there is no confirmed formal link between the Phoenix suspect and the Utah suspect. That is the official line. But imagery plus timing equals narrative in the attention economy, and narratives drive public reaction fast. Let's talk law and principle. If Corral's actions were spontaneous, a drunken, reckless lashing out, the usual legal tools apply: misdemeanor charges, diversion programs, or short sentences. If prosecutors conclude Corral acted with political intent to imitate or to send a message, they might seek stiffer penalties or explore enhancements based on symbolic targeting of a political figure's memorial. That's a politically fraught legal line. At what point does disrespect become a politically dangerous act? Compare that to Robinson's case, where prosecutors assert premeditation and ideological motive and have already signaled capital punishment. The legal gulf here is massive: memorial vandalism versus alleged assassination. But culturally, both acts force the same question: how do we treat symbolic violence, and how do we stop the internet-powered cycle of escalation? These are legal, ethical, and policy questions attorneys and lawmakers will be watching closely. Beyond specific charges lies a broader cultural problem: radicalization in small online communities, symbolic gestures amplifying real harm, and a media ecosystem that can quickly turn coincidence into conspiracy. Reports in the days after the Utah killing documented Discord chats and other digital trails that investigators say show Robinson's deepening political fixation. Experts warn that young people, isolated, angry, searching for identity, can move from rhetoric to action quickly. Conversely, others warn that every shocking image spurs copycats and copycat fears, which then stoke more grievances and more violence. It's a feedback loop. That means the question of how we respond is not just legal. It's educational, social, and technological. How do platforms, families, schools, and communities spot early warning signs? How do we reduce glorification and the online martyrdom narratives that feed escalation? How do we create pathways for de-radicalization that actually work? Those are the questions public health experts, educators, and law enforcement are now confronting. To understand the shooter, Tyler James Robinson, you have to look at the profile investigators and reporting have sketched so far. By all accounts described in public filings and news coverage, he was not previously violent and had no criminal record. He was quiet, private, a figure who, within months leading up to the killing, became increasingly political online. Discord chats allegedly reveal a digital trail of radicalized language, dark humor, and symbolic references to anti-fascist causes. He reportedly referred to Charlie Kirk as a spreader of hate. On the day of the shooting, investigators say he carried a bolt-action rifle and left behind casings engraved with ideological messages. This wasn't chaos. Prosecutors argue it was symbolism, a statement he intended to echo. Robinson's roommate has cooperated with investigators, and reporting notes that the roommate is undergoing a gender transition, a detail some commentators seized upon politically, while others say it's irrelevant and exploitative to spotlight a private person's medical or personal life. The point for investigators is that Robinson's life and social circle may offer context, not excuses, for what happened. To Ryder Corral, we know far less. He hasn't spoken publicly, no clear manifesto, no known Discord trail has been released linking him to the Utah shooting. The primary evidence in Corral's case is the video of his actions at the memorial and eyewitness accounts. The video shows him walking with intention, trampling tributes that thousands had come to see. Was he protesting? Grieving in a twisted way? Was it political expression or just attention-seeking? We may never know. But what we do know is the timing. Just days after the killing, at the site of a sacred memorial, a young man wearing a shirt that mirrors one scene in surveillance footage walked straight through and destroyed items meant to honor the dead. Intentional or not, the message felt clear to those watching. These incidents force us to ask uncomfortable questions. Why does a 22-year-old pull a trigger on a public figure? Why does a 19-year-old stomp through a field of mourning? What is happening in the spaces where ideology, emotion, and identity collide? These aren't isolated acts when the internet provides an audience for every outrage. Radicalization can be fast when reinforcement and echo chambers reward extreme gestures. But not every shocking act is a political statement. Sometimes it's individual pathology, copycat behavior, or pure spite. Distinguishing intent matters, legally and morally. Now let's consider how officials and communities might respond. Law enforcement will pursue evidence, physical forensics, surveillance, digital footprints, witness testimony. Prosecutors will analyze motive and premeditation for criminal charges and potential sentencing enhancements. Media and social platforms will decide what to amplify and how to label it. Important choices because labeling a story as terrorism, politically motivated, or criminal vandalism shapes public reaction. Families of victims and community leaders face another set of choices. How do you grieve publicly while protecting mourners? What security measures are appropriate at memorials without turning grief into a fortress? At the policy level, lawmakers may debate whether symbolic acts of desecration tied to political violence deserve distinct legal treatment. These debates are messy because they intersect with free speech, protest rights, and political expression. Let's be clear about verified facts and open questions. Verified, Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at Utah Valley University on September 10, 2025. Police identified and charged Tyler James Robinson. Authorities recovered a bolt-action rifle and reported engraved casings near the scene. Robinson was charged with aggravated murder and other counts and is being held without bail while prosecutors indicate an intent to seek the death penalty. Verified, A 19-year-old identified in reports as Ryder Corral was arrested at a Phoenix memorial for criminal damage and disorderly conduct after video showed him trampling and knocking over memorial items. Open questions. Was the Phoenix arrest motivated by political intent? Is there any evidentiary link between Corral and Robinson beyond the visual similarity of a shirt? Was the shirt coincidence or deliberate mimicry? Are there wider networks of reinforcement or incitement we haven't seen yet? Those are the questions investigators and courts will decide, and the public will debate. This is also a moment for media responsibility. Quick narratives and viral takes are the currency of social platforms, but they can also harm investigations and deepen divisions. If you share content, consider whether it's verified. If you comment, think about the impact of amplifying unverified speculation. If you're making videos or posts about this, ask yourself whether the content informs the public or merely fans outrage. For viewers wondering how to engage constructively, first, seek credible, sourced reporting. Second, prioritize compassion for victims and their families over sensationalism. Third, if you encounter concerning behavior online that suggests someone may be on a path to violence, report it to platform moderators and, if imminent danger is indicated, to law enforcement. Prevention often depends on timely, responsible reporting and community intervention. Some will say this is a culture problem. Others will say it's an individual criminal problem. Both are partially right. A country divided into media echo chambers will inevitably see its most extreme actors amplified, and some of those actors will cross the line into violence. At the same time, individual responsibility and accountability remain central. The law must address actual crimes. Communities and platforms must address the environments that enable escalation. We want to hear from you, but responsibly. If you were watching the memorial video, what did you feel? If you've seen similar online patterns before, what changed? Share facts, cite sources, and keep the conversation focused on solutions, not speculation. If you have credible information for law enforcement, use official channels. Rumors spread fast. Verified details move justice forward. This story isn't over. Investigations continue in both Utah and Arizona. The country is watching. We will keep tracking court filings, new evidence, and any official connections law enforcement may confirm, and we'll bring you updates. Stay curious, stay critical, and above all, stay safe. Thank you for listening.